He wasn't a hero anyone would write about, at least not at first glance. He was a broke mechanic, hands stained with grease, back bent from long hours, and heart weighed down by responsibility. Every morning, he opened his small, worn-out workshop not knowing if he would earn enough to cover rent, school fees, or even dinner. As a single dad, his world revolved around survival and sacrifice. There were no safety nets, no shortcuts, just grit, routine, and quiet endurance. Life hadn't been kind to him, but it hadn't made him bitter either. Despite the struggle, he showed up every day with honesty, humility, and an unspoken strength that came from loving his child more than himself. He knew what it meant to go without, to choose between needs, and to carry hope even when it felt heavy. He didn't see himself as special or brave, he simply did what needed to be done. And maybe that's where true heroism begins, not in power or wealth, but in the quiet determination to keep going when life gives you every reason to quit. Then came the moment that would test everything he believed in. It wasn't planned or dramatic at first, it was just another exhausting day, another walk past problems he couldn't afford to fix. That's when he saw her, barely conscious, struggling to breathe, her life slipping away in front of him. He froze, not because he didn't care, but because he knew exactly what helping would cost. Time he didn't have. Money meant for his child. Risks he could not afford. For a split second, fear spoke louder than reason. But something deeper answered back. He didn't ask who she was or why she was there. He didn't wait for someone else to step in. He acted. He carried her, called for help, spent what little he had, and chose a stranger's life over his own comfort. In that instant, survival gave way to compassion. It wasn't bravery fueled by confidence, it was bravery born from conscience. He made the choice that felt right, not easy, and in doing so, crossed a line that can never be uncrossed, the line between watching and caring enough to act. What makes this moment truly powerful is not what he did, but why he did it. There was no camera, no applause, no promise of reward waiting on the other side. In his world, people like him didn't get lucky breaks or sudden miracles. He helped because he saw a human being in need, not a name, not a background, not a bank account. He never stopped to wonder if she was important, influential, or wealthy. To him, she was simply someone's child, just like his own. And that understanding erased every difference between them. He chose empathy over calculation, conscience over convenience. In a society that often asks, "What's in it for me?" he answered with action instead of excuses. He accepted the cost without knowing the outcome, and that is what separates kindness from true selflessness. Real compassion doesn't wait for guarantees. It doesn't demand recognition. It acts in silence, trusting that doing the right thing is reason enough. And in that quiet decision, without knowing it, he proved that character is not defined by what we own, but by what we're willing to give when it matters most. Days later, when the truth finally surfaced, it felt almost unreal. The girl he had saved was not just any child, she was the daughter of a billionaire, someone whose name carried power, influence, and unimaginable wealth. The revelation stunned everyone around him, but it didn't change him. He hadn't acted for this ending, and he hadn't imagined a twist like this waiting in the shadows. Yet the contrast was impossible to ignore. A man who counted every coin had saved the life of someone who would never have to. It was as if fate had pulled back a curtain, revealing how strangely and fairly it can work. The world often measures people by status and success, but in that moment, those measures collapsed. The richest man in the room was not the one with the money, it was the one who had shown the greatest heart. The discovery didn't turn the mechanic into a hero overnight, it simply exposed the truth that had been there all along. Sometimes life reveals the reward only after it has tested the character, reminding us that integrity is often proven long before it is recognized. In that contrast, the story quietly reshapes how we define wealth. Money can build towers, buy comfort, and open doors, but it cannot teach compassion or guarantee courage. The billionaire had resources beyond imagination, yet in the moment that mattered most, it was a broke mechanic who held the power to save a life. His wealth was invisible, measured in values, empathy, and the willingness to act when it was hardest. He owned very little, yet he gave what mattered most without hesitation. This is the kind of richness no account balance can show. It reminds us that true wealth is not what we accumulate, but what we contribute. It's found in choices made under pressure, in sacrifices no one forces us to make, and in kindness offered without expectation. The world often celebrates success loudly, but it is character that quietly sustains it. In a single act, this man proved that dignity does not depend on status, and generosity does not require abundance. Sometimes the greatest fortunes are carried in the heart, revealed only when life asks who we really are. And that is where this story ultimately leads us, not to the mechanic or the billionaire, but to ourselves. Because moments like this don't belong only in speeches or stories, they show up quietly in our own lives, often without warning. We may never be asked to save a life in such a dramatic way, but we are constantly faced with choices that test our character. Do we step in or look away? Do we help even when it costs us time, comfort, or certainty? The mechanic didn't know how the story would end, and neither do we when we choose to do what's right. Yet his action reminds us that impact is not reserved for the powerful or the privileged. It belongs to anyone willing to act with courage and compassion. Recognition may come later, or not at all, but that was never the point. The point is who we become in those defining moments. Because in the end, the true measure of a life is not what we gain, but the good we choose to do when it matters most.